Hello everybody and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn and in this video I'm going to give some feedback on Marufxon's speaking test from yesterday. Remember, if you'd like to be a candidate on the channel, if you'd like to have your own speaking test, check out expertexaminer.com where you can buy one of these. If you're interested in free stuff, I have links to my Telegram community. That's where free stuff is arranged. Yeah, let's jump straight into this feedback. Before I jump into it, I just want to give a little bit of background about the candidate Marufxon. So Marufxon took part in a study buddy group that I did last week, like a big Zoom chat where anyone who wanted to join could kind of turn up, have a chat, introduce themselves and maybe find a study buddy. And I noticed in there that he said that he got 7.5 a couple of times. And I remember at the time thinking, like, he seems higher than that. Like the way that he was using English, he was relaxed, he was calm, he was very communicative, he was very sociable, he was really humorous. And I thought, you don't always know exactly how someone's going to perform in a test, but, when you've been doing this job for years and years and years, you do get a sense of, you just listen to a little bit of somebody speaking and you think like, okay, that's approximately like a band 8 or a band 7 or whatever. And I thought like, yeah, he seems very 8-ish. So it was a bit of a surprise to see. I do feel like he underperformed in this speaking test, but I won't give away too much. I'll go through the video and point out all of the things that I think he does well and all of the things that I think he does not so well. But let's have a look. Tell me your full name.
My full name's Abdullah Marufxon.
It's not clear. It's not clear. This part of the test isn't judged, it isn't evaluated, but please pronounce your name slowly and clearly, because names that are not familiar to the Anglosphere sound difficult. And what should I call you?
Maruf.
Okay, fine. Thank you, Maruf. Now, in this first part of the test, I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. Where do you live?
I live in Namangan.
Notice that breathing there. I live in Namangan. It feels like the candidate's a bit nervous, perhaps.
I live in Namangan.
I live in Namangan. Like, you should be, we don't want candidates to be super prepared for all topics, but you should know that these questions, either about, do you work or study, or where do you live, or where are you from, those things are going to come up. And so those things shouldn't be a surprise, and we shouldn't need to take deep breaths like this. It's just a small thing.
Which is located in Uzbekistan.
Okay, which is located, I love comma which, I live in da-da-da, which is located, cool. Nice. And do you like living in this place?
Yeah, a lot. I live in...
Yeah, a lot, cool.
Like western and remote part of Namangan.
Okay, but can you link that now to why that's a good thing, right? So the question is not what part of the place, what part of the city or the country do you live in? It's, do you like living there? And saying, yes, I live in this part of the city doesn't tell me why you like it.
I live in the countryside, I mean. So.
Okay, so the candidate self-corrects and says, I live in the countryside. Cool, but the question is not which part of the city do you live in or which part of the area do you live in. The question is, do you like living there? So I'm hoping, you've answered the question, yes, but I'm hoping you'll explain to me why you like it. Why is it good for you to live in the countryside?
So yeah, it's a great place to be living.
It's a great place to be living. Okay, that's nice, right? Great place to be living. We have a nice little continuous infinitive there. And that grammar is nice, but it still doesn't satisfy the question. Like, do you like living there and why? Why do you like living in this place? And so if you don't offer a reason why, the examiner will ask you why.
Because of the fresh air, and we don't...
Okay, cool. We got an answer there, because of the fresh air.
Don't have that many people. We're not...
Cool, love that use of that. We don't have that many people. Very nice.
Not really crowded. That's the one thing
We are not... Did he say we are not really crowded?
Crowded.
Sorry.
Don't have that many people. We're not really crowded.
We are not really crowded. So that sounds strange. We are not really crowded. The place is not very crowded, but using we, just slightly odd.
That's the one thing I really appreciate about my hometown.
Okay, cool. Appreciate something nice. And is it easy to find interesting or fun things to do there?
Yeah,
Yeah, I like that answer. Very nice.
there is a place which is called Nanai that
There is a place I'm a big fan of. There are constructions, and again we get comma which.
a lot of hills. I love climbing there, and there are some activities that place offers actually like horseback riding, scuba diving, snorkeling,
Okay, nice. Really specific language, horseback riding, scuba diving, all good stuff.
which are my favorite.
Again, we get a comma which. Just be careful that we're not over egging the pudding. We don't want too many comma whiches back to back. And do you think you'll continue living there in the future?
Of course, why not? This
Cool, of course, why not? Very direct answer to the question, good.
is the place.
Bit of hesitation, bit of difficulty,
I can't imagine in my imagination. I've never
bit of repair work, a bit of reformulation. Do you notice it?
imagine in my imagination. I've never
I can't imagine. In my imagination, I've never, and that's okay. A little bit of repair work is absolutely fine. Too much repair work does damage fluency.
thought. I can.
And notice the rhythm of the speech. The rhythm is just broken up a little bit.
I can't imagine in my imagination. I've never thought. I can. I would replace this place to another.
Noticeable, isn't it, that there are some hesitations, that repair work, it is a blocker with the fluency.
I would never move somewhere else.
Okay, nice use of conditional there, or nice use of hypothetical. I would never move somewhere else. Okay, fine. But this is part one. We don't need to be overcomplicating things here, and we want to get off to a nice, comfortable start. Let's save the disfluency for part three, where we really need to think of answers. We don't really need to think of answers like, do you like your hometown? Yeah, it's okay. It's not a bad place to live. I mean, the people are quite friendly, but it's quite a quiet place, so it's not for everyone. And that's fine. Just a nice, relaxed, simple, small talky type of vibe. We don't need to be worrying about complex vocab, complex grammar and stuff in part one. Talk a little about housework now. How often do you do housework?
I don't usually do it. I just simply pass my wife and my mom.
I simply pass my wife. I don't know what that means. I pass my wife.
Simply pass my wife and it. I just simply pass my wife and my
I just simply pass my wife. I'm not sure what that means.
mom. They're usually busy with this.
Okay.
I am more of a homebody, and
So I'm more of a homebody. Why would that mean that you don't do housework? No, I don't do housework. I'm more of a homebody. But that's okay, cool that you're using and activating the word homebody, but it has to be used appropriately, and here it isn't used appropriately. I don't do housework because I'm more of a homebody. Doesn't really make logical sense.
I just stay at home and work in front of this screen 24 hours.
Okay. That seems to me like not a candidate that's talking about whether they do housework or not. That sounds to me like a candidate that wants to use expressions like in front of the screen.
There are so many things that I'm busy with. That's why I don't have much time for.
Okay, that's good, right? There are so many things that I'm busy with. That's why I don't have much time for housework. That's good.
Housework.
And did your parents make you do housework when you were younger? Notice this is when you were younger, so it's past time.
Yeah, they encouraged me to do.
Now, they encouraged me. I don't know if we get that past form of encouraged or encourage, because when we connect that d and the m together, the d is going to be so soft that you virtually don't hear it. They encouraged me. They encouraged me. I don't know if you can hear my d. It's a very soft d. They encouraged me. So I will give the candidate the benefit of the doubt there.
They encouraged me to help them a lot.
But it sounds like present time to me.
Like we have a big yard.
We have a big yard. Now, probably, because the question is past time, probably you want to say we had a big yard. But if the candidate still lives in that place, we have a big yard is acceptable. So the benefit of the doubt goes to the candidate.
Usually we plan so many things, ranging.
Usually we plan so many things, but now usually we plant. Did it plan or plant?
We have a big yard. Usually we plan so many things.
I don't know if he's saying plan or plant, but certainly we want past time here. Because the question is, did your parents make you do things when you were younger? So I want to hear some pastime.
ranging from crops to many vegetables.
Okay, ranging from to feels a little bit out of place in part one. Ranging from feels like quite academic language. Part one of the speaking test is supposed to be, small talk, personal chit chat. Ranging from to feels a little bit situationally inappropriate.
I usually help them to
I usually help them or helped them.
help them.
I don't know.
Usually help them.
So I'm just a little bit worried, and this is something for me to keep my eye on. Can the candidate recognize that when we talk about the past, we change our grammar of the verbs to refer to the past? I'm not entirely sure.
To water or captivate.
I don't know where that word captivate comes from. It just comes completely out of the blue.
Or captivate.
I think I remember the candidate writing in the comment section, I meant cultivate. And it's okay, but then just using the word cultivate.
To water or captivate.
I mean, cultivate it's usually transitive, it usually goes with an object, like to cultivate something. So, I don't know, just dropping bits of vocab in there isn't going to help. It has to be used with skill, it has to be used with control. But okay, just using captivate stands out as a bit odd. And were there any housework tasks that you really didn't like doing? So notice, this is kind of an invitation. Like, do you know words connected to housework? Do you know, like, these patterns, like to do the vacuuming, to do the shopping, to take the trash out, to do the dusting, to make your bed? All of that is language connected to housework. And so far, we haven't really activated any of that. So when we're talking about vocab, of course, there's this like, fancy vocab and ranging from to all of that good collocation stuff. But at the heart of this, housework. Can you give me language that's connected to housework? And so far, I don't think we've had too much of it.
Of course, that was like harvesting.
Harvesting. So this pronunciation really makes me think, what is he saying? And I think he's saying harvesting. He just has a problem with the v and the w, but the initial reaction is, I don't quite understand what, he means that. And so we don't want too much of that, especially if we're aiming for band 8, band 9. We want to be understood effortlessly. And I can't say that I understood that word harvesting effortlessly.
Harvesting.
Is that really housework? Harvesting? Is that housework? Is that stuff you do inside your house?
That was pretty difficult. I needed to carry.
Good that we have the pastime.
Some vegetables or different types of fruit.
Different types of fruit. So the rhythm feels slightly off. Some words are a little bit overpronounced. Now, we know in English we have strong forms and weak forms. We have sentence stress. Some words stand out more than others. But for me, this is just a little bit staccato.
Different types of fruit.
Different types of fruit. It doesn't quite sound rhythmic.
To the store, there is a store, and we usually.
So there's a store. Store is usually like a shop, right? It's a place where you sell things. To be stored is fine. But maybe a store, talking about a place where you store things. I don't know. Maybe it works.
Pick up and carry to this place. Yeah, I really didn't like it.
I really didn't like it. Okay, so nice that we do have past simple there. And do you know anyone who is obsessive about doing housework? And again, notice we're on the theme of housework.
Yeah, my grandfather, still he's blind. Yeah, thankfully he's
use of still there. My grandfather still, he's blind, thankfully
alive, but he's still working.
Okay, he's still working, but housework. What happened to this theme of housework? I don't feel like we've touched too much on housework.
He's really obsessed with what he's doing.
Okay, he's obsessed with what he's doing, but can you go deeper into that topic of housework? If you say that he's obsessive about housework, give me an example of his obsession. Does he like really freak out when people come around and he makes sure that everyone takes their shoes off and, he's always looking in every corner of the kitchen, and if he sees even like a spot of dust, then he gets like the broom out and he starts sweeping up? That's the language that we use really when we dig deep into the theme of Housework. Now, of course, it's only part one. We don't need to go too deep, but we should recognize that if we're talking about housework, we want to use some vocab connected to housework. And I don't think we had enough of it, really. Let's talk a little now about gifts or presents. In what situations would you give someone a gift?
I'm really demanding person.
I'm really demanding person. I missed the article there. I'm a really demanding person. But okay, now can you link being demanding to giving presents? It's odd. In what situations do you give presents to people? I'm a really demanding person. And the advice I always give candidates is please just answer the question first, right? Don't explain things. You know, if it's like, what type of sport do you like? The safest route is to tell me what type of sport you like and then develop. It is not to qualify the answer early and then answer it later. You run the risk there of potentially confusing an examiner or a listener, right? What type of sport do you like? Oh, well, you know, I'm a really energetic person and, you know, I'm really into like different types of endurance things because it's really good for my cardiovascular system and it's really nice when I get the blood pumping around my body and I think that's important for me for my longevity and my long-term health. And so I like running. For me, that's the wrong way around. I really like running because it's good for my cardiovascular health. So we satisfy the demands of the question first and then add the extra detail. When you say, in what type of situations do you like giving presents? I'm a really demanding person. It's like, okay, and this is just a Glyn thing, right? This isn't all examiners or all IELTS people. I just think, take as few risks as possible. In what situations do you usually give gifts to people? Tell the examiner the situations in which you usually give gifts to people, and then add the extra information. Sorry. In what situations would you give someone a gift?
I'm really demanding person. I would give gifts as long as somebody rates something like.
I'm a really demanding person. I would give someone a gift as long as someone reached something. Maybe you mean only if. Like, as long as is not the language that we want to use when we're demanding. As long as is used with a minimum requirement. Yeah. What type of tea do you like? As long as it's hot, I don't mind. It means it's just a minimum requirement. I'm not demanding. I'm not fussy. And so to say, I'm a really demanding person, as long as someone has reached something, those two things don't match there. And when we talk about like idiomatic language, that's the thing, you know, that a C2 probably wouldn't make that mistake. As long as someone reached was the answer. Give someone a gift.
I'm really demanding person. I would give gifts as long as somebody rates something like.
As long as someone reached something. I don't know what that means.
Like whenever they achieve something, like my brother.
Okay, achieve something, cool.
Or my mom in their work sphere, if they.
Cool. Please give an example.
Have done something.
Okay, but an example. Can you give an example of an achievement that you, as a demanding person, feel would deserve a gift?
And
we don't get that example, right? We only get something vague, like if my mum or my brother has done something. Okay, but it's not super informative, is it?
I appreciate it. I would give as a gift for birthdays and wedding days. It's okay. Those days happens regularly. I don't really.
And then we get into a bit of chaotic pronunciation here.
I appreciate it. I would give as a gift for birthdays and wedding days. It's okay. Those days happens regularly. I don't.
Yeah, be clear with your pronunciation. I know it's not always easy, especially if we feel a little bit nervous, but we want to make sure that our pronunciation is clear, and we're losing a little bit there. Also, the pronunciation of wedding, you pronounce as vedding with a V.
For birthdays and wedding days, it's
vedding. Wedding has a W sound, not a V sound.
It's okay. Those days happens regularly. I don't really.
Those days happens? I don't know. That sounds like an odd basic mistake.
Think I should give gifts.
And are you? So I'm unclear whether you give gifts on wedding days or birthdays, because you say it's okay, but then you say you don't give gifts. So I'm not sure about that. But let's move on. Good at choosing gifts for other people.
Yeah, I know others taste
I know others' taste.
and their preference.
Their one preference?
Most of the time, I try to give a bit of money as long as I'm not really aware of their preference.
Let's just read back that answer.
Yeah, I know
So, are you good at giving gifts? Yeah.
others
I know others' taste
taste
and
and
preference.
their preference. Most of the time, I try
Most of the
to
time,
give a bit of money as long
I try to give a bit of money as long as
I'm not really aware of their
I'm not really aware
preference, let's say.
of their preference. I can't make sense of that. I'm good at giving gifts. I know other people's preference. I try to give money as long as I am aware of their preference, or as long as I am not aware of their preference. I can't make sense of that. Can you please, like, just use simple language? Yeah, I think I'm good at giving gifts. Sometimes I can buy something for somebody. Like, for example, my brother really likes scarves. So every year for his birthday, I buy him like a special type of scarf. But then other people, if I don't know what they want, I usually just give them money. I don't see what's wrong with that answer. And I know that you can do this because I've listened to you speak before in a non exam setting. I know that you can speak normally and clearly. I don't know why, when we're in this test environment, that suddenly your language becomes really chaotic and weird.
just simply give some amount of money and they would buy whatever they want.
Okay. And when did you last, not sure about that use of would, but okay, get a gift from someone else? So, when did you last get a gift? Tell me when, and then give some extra details.
I received from my wife. She prepared special
When?
gift, like accumulated some amount.
When?
I'm really obsessed with money,
When?
like accumulating money, and she accumulated too. Gave me $100.
When did you last receive a gift?
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it at the time. I have seen she was doing progress.
For me, it's such a weird answer. Like, when did you last receive a gift? Oh, I received a gift from my wife. I accumulate money, and my wife also accumulates money. She gave me $100, and I thoroughly enjoyed. Okay. When did you last receive a gift from somebody?
Rather than just buying something nonsense, gave me that money.
Now you're justifying why your wife gave you money, but you still haven't told me when you last got a gift. And are you expecting any gifts in the near future?
Not really. Is
Not really. Really like that pronunciation, dropping that turn. Not really.
not really like gift giver. I don't
Are you expecting any gifts? Expecting any gifts means expecting to receive any gifts. Not really, because I'm not a gift giver. So I don't think you've understood the question, really.
expect anybody give.
I'm not a gift giver, so I don't expect anyone else give.
Not really like gift giver. I don't expect anybody give.
Expect somebody to do something. That's a kind of a B2, B1 plus verb pattern. We would never expect B1 pluses to find that, really, but C1s should know, expect somebody to do something.
Anything.
Okay, thank you. All right, so thoughts on part one, first of all. Oh, not that one. Thoughts on part one. It's weird for me because the candidate feels kind of nervous and the answers feel a little bit chaotic. And I know that the candidate is so much better than this with his responses. So the good things, the pronunciation generally is clear. There are times when the w and the v are mispronounced, and there are times when there's a little bit of mumbling like this where a few bits of words are lost. However, intonation is generally good. Sometimes the rhythm is just a little bit staccato, just slightly. In terms of vocab, the candidate has enough vocab to deal with this stuff. However, for me, it feels like he's reaching for vocab beyond his natural communicative repertoire, and that makes some of the answers sound odd, and that links into fluency and coherence, where I think because he's constantly forcing his brain to try to think of new bits of language, he sometimes forgets to answer the question. or he misunderstands the question. But the questions I don't think are dealt with in the most satisfying way. There's a little bit of chaos, a little bit of hesitation, quite a lot of repair work and umming and ahhing and hesitations and things like this. Definitely enough fluency and coherence for a 7, no doubt about it. However, I am a little bit worried with some of the off-topic stuff. In terms of grammar, generally very accurate. I wasn't quite sure about that past time stuff, whether we had past time or not. Certainly later in a few others, he used like needed to do something, so good that he has demonstrated that he can use past time, but it is something I will be listening out for. Missed a couple of articles like I'm demanding person instead of I'm a demanding person, but generally the grammar is accurate. And I would say so far most of the sentences are error-free. Just want to be careful that we don't have too many basic mistakes. Like expect somebody give is a fairly basic mistake, but at this stage it's just a slip. And so, I'm thinking grammatical range and accuracy may be closer towards the 8, but we'll see as the test goes on. So in part 2, the candidate needs to, I'm getting there, talk about a famous building that he likes. Where are we? There we are. The candidate needs to talk about a famous building that he likes. So keep in mind, what we want to do here is describe the building, right? The focus of this task 2 should be the building. And what we usually see with IELTS speaking task 2s is that you have the first set of questions which are factual. What is the building? What does it look like? What's it famous for? Those things are factual bits of information about the building. You can paint that picture to me of that building. And so in the first minute, I want you to describe that building to me so that I can see it. And then probably in the second minute, say why you like this building so much, go into the personal thing of your personal experience with the building. That's how to satisfy this task from a task achievement point of view. Let's see if this is what the candidate does. Okay, so that's the end of your... Let you know when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Yeah. Now I'd like to talk about a place which is called Samarkand.
Samarkand is not a building.
One of the historical cities.
Okay, but it's not a building.
But there is a place which is called Samarkand Square, and it's kind.
Okay, Samarkand Square is also not a building, right?
There is a building.
Okay, there is a building. Finally, we get there.
And it's a madrasa.
Uh-huh.
This place is kind of university, we call it. It was built for teaching.
A small self-correction there, fine.
Young people, religion stuff and customs and our traditions.
Religion stuff, really? Religious stuff, not religion stuff, but okay.
Around this place, there are so many people who are working.
Okay, around this place, but describe the building to me.
And they are doing handcrafts and selling souvenirs to different people.
Okay, so, that adds to the atmosphere of the place and the square, but please tell me about the building.
It's a part of our cultural heritage.
Okay, so you're explaining why it's important?
I've been there so many times.
You've been there so many times, but you still haven't... I don't know what the building... You mentioned it's like... You call it a university. Is it a big building? Is it a small building? What does it look like? What's the interior like?
My life, every now and then I try to...
Every now and then, did we get?
So many times in my life, every now and then I try...
Every now and then... So slight mispronunciation there. And sometimes we do see that when candidates are trying to, activate language beyond their natural communicative repertoire, sometimes they drop pronunciation a little bit. Every now and then. So again, puts a little bit of strain on the listener.
To pay a visit with my friend.
Pay a visit. So I don't like... So a couple of things. There's nothing wrong with visit. We don't need to change it to pay a visit. It makes it sound weird. Also, visit is with a v, not a w. And also, because it feels like... Sometimes you hear this from candidates, that they learn a little collocation and it stands out above the rest of the language. Notice how pay a visit stands out. Pay a visit. Notice it.
My life, every now and then I try to pay a visit with my friends or
Every now and then I try to pay a visit with my friends, and so it stands out in a weird way, not in a good way.
family members. Recently, uh, I've
So you're talking about you visiting the place, but okay, I really want you to describe the building to me, and then tell me why you like it.
went there with one of my friends whose name's John.
I don't need to know the name of your friend.
We went there and we experienced it a lot
Experienced, not experienced, but experienced with a T.
of things. There was a lot of drones out there, like taking pictures. We really wanted to make a video
Where is the focus here? Because I don't think the focus is really on the building. We could say that the focus is on the square or the area, but I don't think we can say that the focus is really on the building, is it?
and we did it and we explained everything in detail, in depth. There was a channel which is called like Speak Up, and
Why are we talking about Speak Up? Your Telegram channel? Is that really on topic?
we published it on it, and it went
Published with a T.
super viral.
Viral with a V. So the candidate has clear problems with the W and the V sound, right? We got vedding. I think we got vife. Now we get viral.
Surprisingly, I didn't really hope.
Now he's talking about how this video went viral, but we're really not on the topic of the building anymore, are we?
It would gain such a popularity, and I was really surprised.
It's not talk about a time when something surprised you. It's talk about a famous building that you like.
Besides this thing I can
Besides. Not beside is, but besides.
tell, like there are so many things that we can do around this building. There are a lot of scholars who are ready to share their
And now the candidate's going back to those people who are around the building, a bit of repetition of ideas. It doesn't feel like a super well organized part two. You know, for people who are really obsessed with IELTS, you really should nail part two because it's something that you can very clearly prepare for. I mean, the way that you organize the talk, I mean, the transitions from one part to the next.
knowledge.
And I feel like this one is a little bit, not all over the place. The candidate's still, tangentially on topic. He's drifted off topic a little bit, but he's still, keeping going in a way that a B1 or a low B2 couldn't. So I do think that there's still evidence there that he's at that C1 level, but it's towards the lower end of C1 for me.
And I usually ask about the things that I really can't comprehend, and they are really empathetic people.
And I'm lost here. Where are we going?
Can't comprehend, and they are really empathetic people.
So now you're telling me that the scholars who hang out on this square are really empathetic people? Talk about the famous building and tell me why you like it.
They share whatever they have, and I appreciate their effort. Hopefully in the future also I will be visiting.
Okay, we'll be visiting. Nice that you get that, like, we'll be doing something for future plans. But yeah,
maybe I
okay,
will be
thank you.
moving there.
Yeah, once the examiner says, yeah, thank you, that's the time to stop. Please don't add something after that. I know naturally you just want to finish your turn, but trust me when I say that most examiners really don't like it when candidates are battling to take their turn. We have to understand that the examiner's job is to facilitate the test. Now, you weren't terrible, you just added a couple of extra words. It could be because of a small delay online. Many reasons why that might happen, but in general, once the examiner says thank you, that's your cue not to finish your talk. That's your cue to stop talking, not to add extra details. But okay, examiners are very sensitive people like that. Okay, so thoughts on part two. The candidate can speak at length, right? The candidate is fairly comfortable speaking at length, although there are still some of those little breathing issues. The candidate, the way that he organizes the talk, for me, is a little bit chaotic. It makes it, I don't think it's like organized with a high level of skill, but he is able to keep going, which is good. But I don't really feel a huge like logical progression that's on topic. The candidate keeps going but relies on drifting off topic or repeating some of the ideas to fill the time. He doesn't fill the time, I think, with a meaningful, like laser focused, tight, I think that's the word I'm looking for, a tight 2-minute stretch. We don't quite get that. The biggest problem for me is that it doesn't really, if I didn't see the cue card, I wouldn't know that the candidate's really describing a building to me. I would think that the candidate's describing like an area or a place in the town that he likes, or a time when he visited a place with a friend or something like that. It's not clear that the candidate's describing a building, and that's a problem. A few small pronunciation errors, especially with the v and the w, and notice also the ed endings like experienced, things like this. This is very common for candidates from Uzbekistan. They just very often, even C1 users in Uzbekistan, they all want to pronounce the ed verbs as id. No, sometimes they're id, sometimes they're just a soft d, and sometimes they're a t. Experienced. Okay. Let's get to part 3. Thank you. All right, so you've been talking about this famous building that you like. Let's talk a little more now about famous buildings and tourism. How do famous buildings influence tourism?
A lot. People
A lot, okay, but how? Not how much, but how?
Visit to a certain place
Visit a place, not visit to a place.
because of something that really value. They think
Because of something that really value. So I don't know what that word value is doing there. Is it a verb? Is it a noun? Let's have a look.
a visit to a certain place because of something that really value. They think
Because of something that really value. I don't understand that grammatically.
that's really important. I should visit to this place.
I should visit to this place. We get repetition and also repetition of the mistake. You visit a place, you don't visit to a place.
Like the buildings can help them to understand how people lived in the past, and they
Okay.
would learn about their tradition and culture. Yeah.
Okay, but okay, we're kind of on topic, but a little bit chaotic and not overly clear. And a little bit short, perhaps. And do you think cities should promote their landmark buildings to attract more visitors? This is a difficult question.
Yeah, that's their number one priority, actually.
I don't know if it's the number one priority, but I don't know.
Cities should help people actually to make this place super attractive.
Cities should help people to make this place attractive
by constructing and trying to preserve important parts, especially
by constructing and trying to preserve important parts.
Old ones are the gold ones, which would attract a lot of people.
And then he throws in that old ones are the gold ones, I guess trying to show off some like idiomatic language, but it feels a little bit, it's good. It shows an awareness of it, but it doesn't show skilled control of it.
There are a lot of tourists to these places. Yeah.
I just wish that the ideas could be presented more clearly, because you're saying a lot, but I feel like, I don't know, I'd love to see you just calming down and simplifying your language, because you're trying to, I think, get in bits of language. I don't know, but I think you're trying to get in bits of language, and I just find the ideas a little bit difficult to follow. And do you think tourism can ever damage historic buildings?
Yes, a lot. Yeah.
Again, we get that yes a lot. We've had that quite a few times. Not how much can they damage, but do you think they can damage? Yes, no, or why?
If the people are careless and
the people are careless. So it's quite a broad, general statement.
Are careless and people, the people who are preserving this place are not really strict.
The people who are preserving this place are not really strict.
With damage. They
would
carelessly go and just take everything, whatever they want.
They would carelessly go and just take everything that they want. I can't understand the answer here. I can't follow the idea.
They would throw away their trash.
They would throw away their trash. Who? The people who are The people who are responsible for the preservation of these buildings will take everything that they want and throw away their trash. And that's why tourism can damage old buildings. I don't follow.
Damage the atmosphere, and it definitely affect that building as well. Some parts of the madrasa that I have mentioned in part 2,
Okay, so we're trying to back it up with an example. Good.
there was like some parts rotten because of tourists actually, and
There were some parts rotten because of tourists. How do the tourists contribute to the rotting of the place? So rotting is something that happens to a place when it's not maintained over time. It's not, tourists can't go there and actively rot something. I don't know.
people felt cautious about it, and
People felt cautious about it
take some steps to avoid
and take some steps. Took some steps. No,
such consequences
are we present or past here?
actually, and people felt cautious about it
People felt cautious in the past.
and take some steps to
Take in the present. Not quite sure with that grammar.
avoid such consequences.
And let's talk about now then the preservation of old buildings. And why is it important to protect or preserve old buildings?
Old buildings are the ones which were delivered by our ancestors, so
Delivered by, and I don't know, maybe ancestors. Yeah, delivered by, I mean, passed on is probably a bit more idiomatic. But delivered is okay, I understand the meaning, but passed on is definitely a better choice.
and I guess it's our responsibility to deliver to next generation.
Yeah, pass on to the next generation, good.
They have also right to see what
They have a right to see. I do think there is a systematic problem in there with articles, especially indefinite article. They have right to see instead of they have a right or they have the right to see.
they have also right to see what their ancestors were able to create, like such amazing handcrafts and buildings.
Handcrafts?
Monuments should be given for it should live for forever, and they should have, they also have right to see.
They also have right, again, missing that article. So I do think there is a systemic problem. Sorry, not systemic, systematic problem with grammar there. Now, sometimes, of course, these old buildings, they get old and they need some type of restoration work. Do you think old buildings should be modernized in some way?
No, it shouldn't be.
They shouldn't be, not it shouldn't be, but they shouldn't be. Old buildings, plural.
It should stay in its own place. There is no substance which is called glue. If they put it, the
Substant or substance?
it's called glue. Substance which is called.
Sounds like you're saying substant instead of substance.
There is no substance which is called glue. If they put it, the glue to the bricks, to the
If they putted, did we get putted?
there is no substance which is called glue. If they put it, the glue to the bricks.
Either put it the glue, which is a mistake, or putted the glue, which is a mistake. If they put the glue
Bricks to the some parts of the building, it will last forever, and it will not.
So you can see this is a hesitation which is caused by a search for language.
Get rooted and get worsened.
Sounds like Kansas saying get rooted.
Get rooted and
I don't know what get rooted means.
get worsened.
Get worsened. It sounds strange to get worsened. To get worse is fine.
Yeah, with the help of such substances, like chemicals can help us to preserve.
Do you really think
No need to
glue will?
modernize.
Do you really think glue will be enough to hold these buildings together for a long time?
Yeah, of course.
Cool. I like the candidate. He's sticking to his guns.
There is a scientific proof, actually.
There is a scientific proof. I don't like this use of here. There is some scientific proof. Proof is better as an uncountable noun. I know there are some instances where you can find a proof, but there is some scientific proof is better than there's a scientific proof.
I've read in one of the articles which is called Times, and I have seen that the glue. True, actually, I've read in one of the articles which is called Times, and
I've read in one of the articles which is called Time Is. Times, that's the magazine, no? Or the journal, not, or the newspaper. Is that the name of the article? Times?
I've seen that the glue would last forever. Whenever
Cool.
it
Like the use of whenever.
loses its effectiveness, we
To
would
lose its effectiveness. Cool, 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 cool. This is good. This is good language.
put a big amount of glue and it stays, its own position for a long time.
And finally, how can cities balance development with preservation? Horribly difficult question.
It's really hard question, actually.
It is.
Let me think.
Good luck. And usually when candidates do this, right, let me think, they start to panic and they start to think, well, I need to find the right answer now. The advice I always give candidates is talk through your uncertainty. If someone asked me this, I'd say, well, I don't know. I mean, on the one hand, we need, we want to see old cities, places like, Vienna and Rome. We want to see them maintain that old character. But on the other hand, it's 2026. People want things like electricity and hot water. So, of course, we need to have that infrastructure. But I don't really know how cities can balance it. I think we have professionals who can do this for us, right? Maybe the cities just need to hire the right town planners and the right architects, and to listen to their ideas. And if they feel like it's too modern or if it's not modern enough, you ask them to change it. But if you're looking for like a step-by-step process of what cities can do, I have no idea, right? That's what I mean by talking through the uncertainty. And so many times candidates get a difficult question like this and they say, that's a difficult question. Let me think about it for a minute. Then they sit, they think, their mind goes blank, and then they just try to give the right answer, and it always sounds weird.
Cities should put a lot of effort, like education would help them.
See what I mean? Sounds weird when you pretend that you have a point of view and you don't have a point of view. Talk through your uncertainty. Don't pretend that you have an answer which doesn't make sense.
People should learn about it a lot. This is the first thing, and they would implement.
Could be used for anything, couldn't it? What can governments do to make sure people recycle? That's a difficult question. Let me think about it. I think education on this is really important. That's the first step, because through education, people can learn a lot. What do you think we can do to make sure that more successful businesses develop in the city? That's a difficult question. Let me think about it. I think, first of all, education, because I think if the government puts a lot of effort into education, then people can learn about it. Not really informative, is it? So speak through your uncertainty.
Whatever they learn, and it would work. I'm not really 100% sure. And balancing is not that easy. It hasn't been easy so far. So, yeah.
Do you think it's better in general when old cities do modernize, when they have like new up-to-date infrastructure and things like this? Or do you think it's better when older cities keep their historic like identity?
I understand.
I really don't like that intonation. It feels really rude.
I understand where you are coming from. Like,
when you interrupt the examiner with staccato pronunciation like that, it sounds so rude. The cities keep their historic like identity.
I understand where you are coming from.
I would strongly advise you not to do that, because I promise, even though I don't think you are being rude here, don't interrupt the examiner with staccato pronunciation like that. It sounds, I understand what you are saying. It sounds horribly rude. And I know you're not a rude guy. I know you're a nice guy. But you're taking a risk. Of course, most examiners, we would hope they will be professional, and even if they do feel like you're being a bit rude, they will still judge your language. However, examiners are also human, and we don't want to do things that might annoy them. I just want to listen one more time, just for the lols. A historic like identity.
I understand where you are coming from.
One more time. Or do you think it's better when older cities keep their historic like identity?
I understand where.
I don't know. Do you guys feel it? Do you feel like it sounds a bit rude? I don't know.
You are
Maybe it's my British sensibilities.
Coming from old cities should stay. what
And notice the chaos, right? Notice.
should say what I can say what I can
I know it's brutal to do this, right? We all have disfluencies. You could do this with my speech too. You could find little bits where I'm speaking like that, and you could break it down. That's fine. A little bit of it is fine, but for me, it is noticeable that we have quite a lot of it throughout the test.
consider is like it should stay in its own position. If people want to modernize something, there are a lot of fields, endless ground out there, they would build whatever they want. So yeah, no need to disturb such ancient.
And then the pronunciation loses its rhythm again, doesn't it?
Build whatever they want. So yeah, no need to disturb such ancient miracle places.
Okay, thank you. That is the end of the test. Okie dokie. So let's get into the marks. So it certainly can't be a band 8 for fluency and coherence just because the ideas aren't really clear enough, right? So if you have a look at that band 8, topic development is coherent, which means easy to understand, appropriate on topic, and relevant on topic. Appropriate means, not too long, not too short. Relevant means on topic. So for me, no, it's not always coherent, it's not always appropriate, and it's not always relevant. If we look at the 7, able to keep going, yes. Readily produce long turns, yes. Without noticeable effort, that's the part I'm worried about. I do think that over the course of the test, we can say that the candidate can produce long turns without noticeable effort. However, there is some effort in some parts. Some hesitation, repetition, or self-correction, yes. Often mid-sentence, yes. Sometimes problems accessing appropriate language, yes. Doesn't affect coherence. And again, we really want to be careful with that. If an exam, I think it would be harsh to award a 6 for fluency and coherence. However, I could accept that justification by saying, no, I'm sorry, the hesitations and the chaos does sometimes, or even regularly, affect coherence. I think there could be a case for that. So for me, flexible use of discourse markers, yeah, some inappropriacies with discourse markers, like the candidate doesn't really, I think, have a full understanding of how this as long as works. A couple of times that was misused. But for me, there is a flexible use of spoken discourse markers, so I'm okay with those cohesive features. It sometimes uses like the incorrect pronoun, like it versus them and things like this. Ones is maybe slightly overused or slightly less skillfully used, but in terms of cohesive features, we're okay for the 7. So I would be comfortable awarding 7 for fluency and coherence, but not higher, because the answers are just so chaotic and so difficult to follow at times. I can't award anything band 8-ish for vocab either. I do feel like there are, some ability to use less common and idiomatic items, but I don't think there's really skillful use of less common and idiomatic items. They are thrown out there, but they're thrown out there really without control, and there are, inappropriacies, problems with some collocation, like visit to a place versus visit a place, fine. So band 7 for me for vocab. We don't really go deep into topic-specific vocab and things like this, but certainly enough vocab to discuss a variety of topics. Okay, we certainly have a systematic problem, I think, with articles. So occasional inappropriacies and non-systematic errors is required for that band 8. Sometimes the candidate slips with past simple, sometimes slips with fairly basic infinitive structures, like expect, me, give, and few mistakes with that I'm demanding person versus I'm a demanding person, or they have right to do something versus they have a right or the right to do something. Yeah, just a few too many a few basic errors is okay for the 8, but for me, it's more 7-ish than it is 8-ish, so I'm going with 7 here. With pronunciation, I do think the candidate's phonology and tone at times is definitely 8-ish. However, can be understood can be easily understood throughout. I don't think I can say that, because I do think that there were a few instances where whether it's the accent, that Uzbek like id sound, which is overused, or the w versus the v, that phonology sometimes has some effect on intelligibility, and I'd say it's more than minimal. So I do think, the candidate does have a nice wide range of phonological features. He also at times has appropriate rhythm, however sometimes that breaks down. I think the phonology is good. I think the intonation is generally good, but not, at times it's a little bit staccato, and at times the mispronunciations put a small stress on the listener, and so for me that also drops it down to a 7. So for me, this performance is a band 7. So no doubts, no prizes for guessing the overall score if we have 7, 7, 7, 7. Although it is let's not talk about that. 7.0 overall is what I would award for this. 7s across the board. Key areas of improvement. Now, I know that the candidate's level of English, or I think, I'm starting to doubt myself now, but I think the candidate's general level of English is higher than band 7. I think the strategy is wrong, and there are lots of things to improve on. First and foremost, you need to answer the questions. Right, and it seems, I can't believe I'm saying this to someone who's so experienced with IELTS, because Maruf is a very experienced IELTS person. Sometimes you can be so experienced with IELTS that you go over the edge and your performance gets worse. When someone asks you, when did you last receive a present? Tell them when you last received a present. I can't believe I have to say that. Don't forget to answer the question. You're a little hyper. It seems, I'm going to write that, it seemed, I'm going to qualify that. It seems that you're a bit too language focused. But what I mean by that is that you go into the test and you think, okay, I'm going to use this, I'm going to use that, I'm going to use this conditional, or I'm going to use, maybe not so much with grammar, but with vocab. Maybe that's the case. I don't know if you are too language focused or if you just have problems with fluency, but it is clear that you have some chaotic aspects to your speech. You do rely on a lot of repair work, and maybe that's, the biggest barrier to fluency for me is just grammar and vocab. If you know plenty of grammar and vocab, you probably will become a more fluent speaker. I mean, not you, Maruf, but people in general. But there are other barriers to fluency too, sometimes overcomplicating ideas. I would love to see you just simplify your ideas and use more normal language, especially in part 1. So yeah, you have some chaotic aspects to your speech. Your job is to find out why that happens. I can't tell you exactly why that happens. I don't know if it's because you're worried, because you're nervous, because you're looking for vocab, because you're confused by the question. I don't know what that is, but it's your job to find out why that chaos happens. Because that chaos, I think, is the big obstacle to a lot of your English production. I think if you could eliminate that chaos, simplify your ideas, that would help you to stay on topic, that would help you to activate more topic-specific vocab. It would make your ideas so much easier to follow. In part 2, don't lose focus of the main requirement of the task. If the task is talk about a person you admire, the focus should be on the person you admire. If the task is to describe a building you like, the focus should be on the building. If the task is to talk about a time when you were embarrassed, okay, the focus is on that story, the events that made you embarrassed. We can't lose focus of that, and for me it is noticeable that in part 2 you did lose focus of it. So this one for me personally was a difficult one. It was a difficult one to sit through. I feel like I've been very negative about someone who speaks English well, because it feels, someone watching this probably hasn't got to the end of the video, but someone watching this might think like, okay, based on that examiner's comments, based on the examiner's comments, that like Maruf has performed poorly in this test. Maruf hasn't performed poorly. Maruf has still performed at a C1 level, which is still amazing. However, he has underperformed, and that's why I think the feedback seems negative, because I do think that he's capable of more. I think probably with his English level, probably he's capable of an 8. However, with his approach, the exam technique is really brutally killing his score. And this is a thing that I find frustrating, especially for candidates who tell me, oh, Glyn, I love your videos. I watch all of your videos. It's really cool. Can I get feedback? And it's like, you give people the speaking tests and it's like, have you seen any of my videos? Because if you've seen any of my videos, you would not have that type of exam technique. And I don't know. I think people just pretend that they've watched my videos and pretend that they know what I'm about and the advice that I give. Because time after time, candidates come back with the same mistakes, the same type of like incorrect approaches or weird approaches, and I end up giving exactly the same feedback. So I am sorry if the feedback seems a little bit negative. The TL, too long didn't read here, the TLDR is, this is a candidate that knows English very, very well. This is a candidate that when you put him in a normal social environment, produces language very, very well. This is a candidate that's reached super, super high levels of English. However, he seems to have an exam approach. He seems to be living in an IELTS bubble, and I think that is having a real polluting, corrupting influence on his exam performance. Or maybe he's nervous, or maybe he just had a bad day. Who knows? But the candidate can definitely do better. Anyway, if you think you can do better, feel free to get your own speaking test with this level of granular feedback. It can be really uncomfortable sometimes, right? To listen to an examiner picking apart every tiny little detail in your speech. However, no pain, no gain, all of that good stuff. If you want to know exactly what's wrong with your language production, or even what's right with your language production, then check out expertexaminer.com, where you can get one of your own speaking tests with feedback. If you're only interested in free stuff, check out my Telegram channel. I have a couple of channels, one for announcements and one for like more community-based stuff. Links to everything are given in the description below. More videos from me coming soon, but for now, adios, bye-bye.